Okay, we are going to, Mohammed Mokhtar, please mute yourself. We are starting up on today's episode of IMSL and IMA Group collaboration on um, on another webinar we usually do every month, last Wednesdays of every month for those that are actually joining us for the first time. This is actually brought to you by IMSL and IMA. We've made it a point of duty as a group who has come together to bring in our initiative, our intellectuals, our own time to the mining industry in Nigeria, especially as pertaining to youth empowerment and programs that will actually develop human capacity among the young ones and the younger generation. Today is another episode of it. We'll actually be dealing on another topic today. Last month, we dealt on bridging the gap on market access as concerned women in ASM. So today, again, we'll be actually dealing with something that has to do with this is a very important topic when it comes to mining. As I'm talking to you now, we are battling a lot of issues concerning this. So before we go forward, I will also want to, Madam just reminded us, we lost someone who is very dear to us, someone who has been is more than a legacy to this mining sector. The first very director general of Nigerian Mining Cadastral Office, Engineer Mohammed K. Amate, who passed away recently, just like an event that is we never envisaged. And it remains very difficult to comprehend the passing away of and the end of a defining chapter in Nigerian mining's history. Under the leadership of Amate, MCM emerged from its formative years to become a model of transparency, efficiency, and institutional integrity. Today, I would say that we owe much to this renewed investor confidence and the regulatory credibility to his pioneering reforms. So we've lost someone who is there to this sector and someone who was very visionary. We all remembered his role he played, as a director general, tasking him in 2011 by President Goodluck Jonathan then. I inaugurated his leadership to redefine the agency's role and mandate. And recently we heard about his passing away. So I want us to just observe a minute silence to this effect. Okay, may the soul of Engineer Mate rest in peace, and the soul of the departed ones rest in peace. Okay, with that, we'll proceed. We'll proceed to Dr. Mrs. Alao. Do you have an opening remark for us? Today we are dealing on issues that has to do with management of water, or risk of managing water in mining activities in Nigeria. So do you have 30 seconds welcome address for us so that we can proceed with other things we have today?
My dear esteemed group, I don't think I have much to say. Just to say you've been doing well, and we thank God for everything. But even reminding that we lost a great person, it means that the man is so dear to our heart. And we pray that may the Lord Almighty grant it eternal rest.
Amen.
More to say, Dr. Fadele is bringing up a topic that is of health concern today. Let's listen to it as we go a long way with working with medical geologists. So that's all I could say. Why you continue with your program.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, ma. Thank you. We appreciate that introduction. Please, if you are here and you are among the mentorship group within the IMAG, ensure that you always sign in. Abigail, please always remind them of that. Always sign in, because we need to use some of these criteria to understand, to at least, and in our subsequent training and some other things we might need to do, we need a criteria to understand people who are actually serious about being mentored. So your presence counts at any particular point in time, especially those that are in our mentorship class. Also, you can also join our Telegram group. If you are new here, you can also join different sections to discuss your issues when it comes to mining or any problem you might actually be having. In our Telegram group, we are more than over 700 or something. And in our WhatsApp, we have over 500. So our numerical strength now is up to 1,300 or thereabout. We'll have a closely 800 registered members, those that are actually verified. So you should understand there is a difference between being a verified member and being a member. A verified member means that we know you and will have your details. A member means that you are there, we don't have your details, so we cannot vouch for certain things when it comes. Most of the time, some people will come and say you see in their CV. I've received about 2 or 3 calls when some people went for work and they use IAESEP and use our names as people that will vouch for them. I'll tell them I don't know them. When I ask you your reg number is not there, I'll simply tell the person calling me, sorry, I don't know this person. He might know me, but I actually don't know. So beware of whatever that is going on. But that is just the case. So if you're a verified member, it's clear that you don't have anything to hide. So we should know your ID. So that is it on that. So today, straight to what we have, I think we have an interesting topic that has bedeviled most of the mining activities, especially when it comes to open cast mining in Nigeria. This is a very big issue. Water is critical as a resource in mining operation and mostly used in mineral processing. It can actually be used for dust suppression. We can use it for drilling. Also in site rehabilitation, actually, you can also use water. So water in its own is a very big issue when it comes to mining. That also means managing the water can lead to a lot of environmental degradation and regulatory penalties. Also some operational delays. So when you don't manage the surface water and underground water well, definitely there are some issues that you're bound to have. So there are a lot of things that actually involve when it comes to water, especially the key issues when it comes to the community you are dealing with. In most cases, you found out that most of the water that are actually contaminated goes back to the sources where the communities actually use them, and become very difficult for them to actually survive using some of these contaminated waters. So, and also when the waters are not actually well managed, because we are dealing with open cast system, most of the time become an issue. So there are a lot of things that are involved when it comes to managing the surface water and underground water. If you've mined in the rainy season or you've done some pit that is below 20, 30 meters in Nigeria, especially in the sedimentary terrain, you will understand the problem that are actually associated with this. So you know that managing water is highly professional and technical issues to deal with when it comes to open cast mining system. So today we brought in one of the professionals and the people who have actually done this when it comes to environmental geology and medical geology. Dr. Fadele is going to be taking us on this. Dr. Fadele, as most of us know, is a renowned geologist. Dr. Fadele studied geology at the first degree, and mining at the second degree, and also he possessed a PhD in mineral exploration. He's a geoscientist and environmentalist, as we can say, and also done some various work that is actually pertaining to social safeguard consulting, and also to some work with some renowned companies and multilateral projects have been actually handled under his care. He's currently a managing partner of IEMID Geoenvironmental Consulting and a program director within IAESEP. So, Dr. Fadele, it is our pleasure actually to welcome you to this platform as you do justice to this topic. So, that is, I will actually try to share what you have here from our own side, so you can go on. Okay. That is it. We are there now. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see. I can see from here. Thank you very much, Dr. Gideon, and the senior colleague in the industry, someone I respect so much, so very much because of his vast knowledge in the mining ecosystem. I would once and first and foremost appreciate the management and the coordinator of the program, Dr. Mrs. Salau, for giving me the privilege also to come up with this topic. You know, I'm a runaway geologist, geoscientist, Dr. Uafo just want to bring me back that I was. Yeah, you're not running anywhere. We are still together here. And once a geologist is always a geologist, despite the fact that driving more into the safeguard ecosystem, as the case may be. But notwithstanding, we are still trying to safer mining. All what we are working towards is to have a good ecosystem, a safer mining, and mining responsibly within the system we find ourselves. And it's whatsoever thing we do directly or indirectly have its way to us, or have its still come back to us. So we shall be looking at some strategies for having sustainable water management, just like Dr. Gideon have summarized the topic of discussion. You know, all the ecosystem, all the value chain, exploration through processing, water. Let's go to the introductory part, sir. The next slide. So very quickly from the outline, we shall be looking at the introduction, causes of water pollution, effects of
Please unmute yourself. Somebody was talking on the background, so I needed to mute everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we have to balance our activities with even the environment where we are working. And that is where we from the medical aspect will also benefit from what the topic of or the subject we are discussing this morning or afternoon, as the case may be, is concerned. The next slide, please. The next slide.
Okay.
From introductory parts, we said water management is critical aspect of mining operations, as it's plays a vital role in various stages across the mineral value chain or the mineral ecosystem, from exploration, extraction to processing. The truth of the matter is, Engineer Gideon will not start drilling anywhere until he gets his water source, because one, he wants to safeguard his drilling bits, and he wants to have a very good recovery for whosoever client he wants to, and have clean material. core samples, as the case may be, irrespective of the exploration regime. Maybe it's for maybe confirmatory, for its resource estimation, or as the case may be. Because most of these drilling bits, while cutting through these materials, it's a friction, it gets hot. So you need water as coolant to cool these bits. And also, they also serve as maybe lubricants during the cutting process and so on. So we discovered that they need water, and that is why while the drillers on site will keep hammering, we need a water source, we need to drill this borehole, we need to, they can have a good, or else they can damage their bits. And we can see that some of this water, just like and don't have summarized, is for one, mineral processing. We use them to separate most of these minerals from the ores and its quality effect and its efficiency and so on and so forth. For dust suppression, like Arthur now from his coal site, he will always need water to suppress most of these dust that are coming from maybe the crusher and the likes, and even from the pits as they are bringing them. It comes with some of these carbon and sulfur. Sometimes it amazes me. And I think I've visited this first patrol somewhere in local government in Ebonya. I believe Engineer Gideon will know that. You see, from end to end, I understudied their processing, their lead zinc processing process, and we discovered that water have a major role to play. It is a different thing to have water source for your processes, for your mining, for your drilling, for your processing, for your slurring and all stuff. But how do you handle them? How do you manage them? How can they be sustainable? Especially where we have different people who are coming up. Okay, I want to mine this, I want to mine that. And at the end of the day, we are sharing the same facility. I need water, he needs water. And also the immediate community also need water for their own businesses. So how do we sustain that? How can we manage what we have? And how do we, the ones we are using, how can we, use them to keep our business going and also not affect the, the host community, as the case may be. So let's look at some of the water-related risk to mining operations, because we know that mining operations face various, water-related risk, which may include maybe water scarcity, insufficient water supply, can disrupt mining operations and impact our production. Just like I have said earlier on, that before you can even start any of this process, your water is very important. It serves both the projects, the machines, the facilities for their operations, and also for even those that are working there. They need water to drink, to do other domestic purposes. Also, climate change also is another risk we are facing now. Some places are beginning to, undergo some water stress. Water is depleting very fast in some regions. And the only thing they begin to look for now is maybe some of those river channels and all stuff like that, lakes or nearby, as the case may be, to facilitate and run their businesses, processes in the mines. And this same water is what some of these farmers, the host communities, are using for their own maybe irrigation and farming activities, as the case may be. And another thing which is very critical that we are facing now is water pollution. Mining activities can contaminate most of the water source, posing environmental and health risk, as the case may be. Because after you have used it, we can see from this very particular diagram, from the mine sites now, somebody like maybe Mr. Arthur from his coal mine, if he wants to drill, he doesn't need those water there. He will want to what? To dewater the place, to remove those water. And when he releases it, how is he handling them? You discover that water is coming from one of those mine sites into this water. Industry is close by too. They need that same water competing with water. It's after doing most of their stuff, their effluents, they release them into the water. We have an urbanization, we have so many activities, agriculture, everything comes to the water. And that is why I say the evil that men do, don't it lives with us now. And at the end of the day, this same water goes inside, we eat fish, we do this, we do that, forgetting that we have released some heavy metals, be it arsenic, cadmium, and the likes into this same water because they end up, percolating, drop at that sediment and have some of these environmental or issues or health risk issues. And what are the causes of this water pollution? Obviously, runoffs from the farms, from the the industries and the likes. And we see acid mine drainage, especially those of us dealing with metallic minerals. We expose some of these our waste rocks, interact with water, oxygen and other stuff react to them, and it forms this stuff. Heavy metals, just like we have seen from the different water collections from different places coming into that same surface water. Those things that disturbs tailings. Some of these residual materials we keep somewhere. How this waste rock that because you have removed your metals, your mineral, your concentrate from the gangs, do you handle them? They cause environmental damage. We can see this milky, water. These are some areas where they have dumped and released some water. They kept those waste rocks there. Rain falls, they got flooded. Some areas, we see some critical case studies. Thankfully, maybe from our own ends, or in Nigeria, we've not recorded a mind-blowing environmental issues or cases caused by our activities, maybe because of the way we are still mining now. But we'll see some cases in the US, even in the Western countries, where they have so many devastating issues. This is just a typical chemical reactions of maybe some of these our metals we deal with, their interaction with water and forming an acid mines drains, an acid mines, as the case may be. We can see a pyrite there. You are looking for gold, you saw pyrite, I'm not interested in pyrite, drop it somewhere. And rain falls, it reacts, oxygen is in the air. You have your, iron sulfide and hydrogen sulfates, as the case may be. So this is what we carelessly handle, or we don't regard, but is having an adverse effect on the environment, as the case may be. And that is why we must handle and manage our water, very well and professionally. And these are some of the effects. You see these young boys now, they never knew that you have released arsenic or thereabouts into this water, or cadmium or lead. And they just come, innocently take this water and they start drinking them, especially those that are not treated. And before you know it, it begins to have some chronic health issues, in them. As they are consuming some heavy metals unknowingly to them, and begin to see typhoid, malaria, cancer, and some neurological damages, which are some long-term issues. And sometimes native people potentially are affected by these mines because either you like it or not, when this water is not treated and we release it into a man practicing irrigation farming will pour this water also into the farm. And me and you will buy carrots or cabbage from these people. And at the end of the day, what we have released into the water is what me and you we are consuming. I say, it's pure water I like drinking, or bottled water. How many did I have typhoid and other stuff? It's because of these, irregularities in handling some of this water. And also we have some environmental consequences to this. When these things are poorly managed, it destroys the habitats. We lost our natural habitats due to all this mismanagement of water we release, and biodiversity loss. Obviously, the reduction of plants and animal species, especially when strange and foreign stuff comes to that place, definitely you lose them completely. You contaminate your water tables, especially when those things are kept in a place that is not properly in an impervious layer. You drop them, it's destroyed the water table. You see, there was a project I did for a nickel company when I was still start practicing as a consultant that time, somewhere in Jama, their local government in Kaduna State. They said they were interested. It's an Australian company. A friend just connected me with them. They said they are interested in identifying the carry out and hydrological studies of that place, that before they commence mining. Understand the hydrological regime of that place, and so on and so forth. I just, gather my friends. We want to go and do an hydrological study of that place, study the frequency, the duration, the timing, the recharge, and stuff like that. We do a lot of work, drill a lot of spots there. I was now, during the interpretation and stuff like that, upon presenting my reports to them, it changed their mindset and designs completely. Because some areas they have dedicated to be where they will do their stockpiling or put their waste rock are areas that has, some good water aquifer, and the recharge around that corridor is so high. And when we understudy some of the boreholes within those corridors in some of the local community, at very shallow depth, there were a lot of water flows through there. They have to quickly change their mind, because in order not to cause environmental, hazard, they have to quickly change it and, change where their waste rock or their dump sites is going to be, as the case may be, and have a change over on the designs and plan of the site. So these are some of those things that, if they are not properly taken cognizance of during your activities, it may cause some environmental damage. Soil degradation is inevitable when we release some of these metals, heavy metals, untreated to the environment, aquifer depletion, and so on and so forth. These are some case studies of some areas. We have not come or gotten to this stage where we can see a vast land, got damaged or got completely depleted. And we can see that even in this very particular country or this area of these very particular hazards, you can see that they've started remediation. Look at how the place was, because they have a failed mine tailings, and at the end of the day, and this happened in the record was around 2014. It's a Mount Holy Copper Mine tailing pond that got collapsed. And before you know it, it releases its heavy metals and other stuff to the environment, and it kills the habitat, it kills the biodiversity. Nothing can survive in this kind of place. And this is not far-fetched from what we are facing in the Niger Delta before the remediation and other stuff came on. This is a typical example of how water was poorly managed. A collapsed tailing caused an environmental devastation or disaster to this very particular area. Let's look at another site here. We have the Okitedi mine in Papua. That's in New Guinea. You see, this mining also caused a collapse there. The tailings also collapsed sometimes in 1984, and this was so devastating because over 50,000 as recorded, have been disrupted by the disaster, and it's one of the worst environmental disasters caused by a human. It is a consequence of the discharge of about 2 billion tons of untreated mining waste into the Okitedi, that's the stream, and it's affected even not only, and this is from an open pit mine, and it's also affected some of the the fish and other aquatic animals along this corridor. And that is why we must not be selfish in handling our water, no matter how important we want to deliver. Let's open to let's go to the next slide. You see, and this is the river, and we discovered that most of the habitats, especially those close to this very particular mine, they died. They died, and some persons whose livelihood are strictly on this still have to catch some of these contaminated fish, kill them, and also the dead fish, and also consume them, and generating another health problems. So we must be conscious of how we handle some of this water. Let's go to the next slide. We have the Biam Canyon mine too. Is also another, copper porphyry deposit mine somewhere in Salt Lake City in Utah. It's also have a lot of environmental issues, and it has similar mining operations with others that we have said, because it affected both the air and the water, and the wildlife in this thing were within the surroundings were affected by the activities in these copper mines that year. And I believe we shouldn't get to this stage before we can, let's go to the next slide, before we can start, we have Beckley pits, and let's go to the next slide, and so on. How do we manage this? Mining in a changing world. You see, the mining industry must adapt to what? A changing world. And one, this is characterized by increasing demand, water demand, because we have a a growing global demand for minerals and metals, increases pressures on water resources. Because as it were now, when it was critical metal at that time, everybody wants to go to lithium, this, that. Even some places we have reclaimed somewhere in Kokuna, they've opened them up. They've just mined this thing, those pegmatite veins, they've removed the tantalite and tourmaline. Before you know it, because of the lithium boom, they've opened those places that the ministries have already reclaimed because of maybe they felt there are some grade of kunzite lithium deposits around that corridor in Kokuna, and some the Endo community in Nasarawa State. Those areas too, they've already swept all those concessions, covered them with lithium whatsoever resource. So this growing stuff, the less water used now, because they want to even start, there is a processing plant coming up in that part of Nasarawa State, that Endo community. We discovered that definitely there will be need for increased water demand for their processing stuff, competing with those locals planting their granules and some of their vegetables around that corridor. And climate change also is another thing that we need to start preparing our mind for. Definitely mining operation must mitigate and adapt to any climate-related risks. It could be drought, it could be flood, and the mine planning, it's very, very important. How do you store your water? How do you keep them? How do you treat them? And regulatory requirements, stricter environmental regulations. We talk about getting your water permits before you open your mines. How do you handle them? All those regulations enshrined inside those permits. You have already told the government, this is the volume of water you need for your material, and this is how you are going to handle them, vice versa. And are you really complying with those things? Or after mining down, you remove, or you want to deplete water, you want to dewater your mines, you release them into the distant environment. Let's look at what water resilience is. We must adapt this water resilience method in order for us to be able to, one, manage the water we have around us, and maintain an economic, social, and environmental viability or sustainability, as the case may be. So to ensure water resilience in mining, we must implement the following: water conservation. We must reduce the water consumption through efficient technologies and practices. Water recycling, reuse them, treat them, reuse them to minimize wastewater generation. And also water treatment plants. You have to get water treatment plants, so for effective water treatment system to prevent pollution. All those things they are releasing into the environment, if they are properly handled, reused, it will minimize those wastewater, and also it will also prevent the havoc that were being faced by those communities and so on. Let's go to the next slide. So, and also diversification of water sources. You explore alternative water source, such as maybe you recycle the one you have. Sometimes you can even use brackish water, as the case may be. Treat them, use them. Try to sink boreholes if necessary. Don't depend solely on the water these communal or community people are using for their own purposes. And this is where social issues sometimes, always come up. And that is why collaboration and stakeholder engagement with these locals is very, very important. Understand what they are doing, where their water source is coming from, what they need to do, engage them so that they can also help to advise accordingly. If there are, some of these agencies that supply water, get your water from there, and it will also help. So let's look at some of the effective water management. We said some of those strategies you can, practice is the closed loop water system. You see, advanced water cycling system, efficient tailings management, this part is very, very important. You have to, you have to manage your tailings very, very well and efficiently, because these are where most of the heavy metals, most of the problem comes from. If there are issues from the tailings and maybe flooding comes, it releases them and push them to the environment, it causes a lot of havoc. So all these waters we are using, before you recycle, use them, treat them. You see, by treating all this mining wastewater to make it usable, it can help us remove about 99% of contaminant from the mining wastewater. And also, it even helps in production of over 50% and lower operational costs because of trying to manage this, to correct this, to treat this, to begin to attend to some other stuff. It reduces them because when you have clean water and you don't have any environmental or community or social issues to begin to spend money on to clean or to reclaim, as the case may be. Let's go to the next slide as we are rounding up gradually. So also, we also encourage maybe smart data solution, integrate intelligent data analytical for real-time monitoring and optimizing water management practices. This enables quick identification of problems and corrective action. Sustainable water use, have real data solutions. Carry out, there are, just like that company did, it gives the company a lot of leverage. They know what to do per time because they've already have their water dynamics and region per section, per block. If there is water shortfall, they know which of the area they can go to and also sink and get water from. So when we have good data, it helps. Water efficient mining equipment and processing, it helps. Technologies are everywhere. You understand? We have high pressure grinding rolls and dry processing, machines, which can also help. Let's do research. Let's consult people, professionals. Thank God we have professionals here in IAESEP that you can meet. Engineer Gideon is not far-fetched from you. He's very vast. He's everywhere. You can meet him. He can advise and recommend accordingly. And some of the best practices we also said we can also, imbibe is implement efficient resource allocation, incorporate integrated drainage systems, consider sustainable dewatering method. Please, it's very, very important. And apply water treatment and reuse action. It is very, very important. We imbibe this. It will help. Treat your water to remove all these contaminants and reuse it to reduce the amount of new water that will be needed. By the time you have your 100 or 1,000 cubic water, for usage, and as you are using it, you return it, you treat it, it goes to every other place. As it's coming back, you have your chamber and mechanized technology that helps you treat. You don't need to be going outside again to go and be taking water that is limited or that is not enough for other people to use. Let's go to the next slide. So what are the benefits? Very quickly, it reduces operational costs, it minimizes environmental impact, it improves community relations, because by the time the water is properly managed, it will not bring there won't be any cost for alarm. We discovered that during mining operations, there used to be a lot of community, issues because of maybe their air, their water, their environment is being disturbed or, destroyed, as the case may be, from your operation. So by the time you keep to all these aforementioned, management system, discover that there would always be a peaceful, it foster a better relationship between both parties. And in conclusion, you see, the mines we all want to see, the mining industry can achieve sustainable management by prioritizing water resilience, implementing efficient technologies, and engaging with stakeholders. By doing so, mining companies can minimize their environmental footprint, ensure regulatory compliance, and to contribute to a more sustainable future. And I think this is what we have. And I know we may have some of our friends. Thank you very much. We may have some of the senior colleagues and brothers here on the system who are in the industry, who have some minefields, and who can also share their minds and ideas on how they manage their water in their mines. Thank you very much, Dr. Gideon. Over to you, sir.
Wow. That's interesting there, Dr. Fadele. I think it's nice having you here today to have shared with us what you have. I think it's a nice presentation, so we appreciate you for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And your video is off,
Thank you, sir.
in case you don't know. Okay, nice one. I think I will want to make a kind of a contribution, a little contribution here based on what you just said. I think we'll just dwell a little bit on the mining aspect. I think you talked more of contaminations as regards to practices and not about. I just want to say some things about surface contamination as a result of practices that actually we've seen. I think one of the problems we have is poor planning ab initio, especially when you are planning your pits. Now, I've seen a couple of problems coming out from this. Now, if you look at it naturally, most of the places that the waste are usually dumped are in the lower part of the mine. Now, because most miners want a slope that won't disturb their truck. So they don't want to go above the hill, definitely, So, and in the lower part of the mine are usually the waterways. You get it now. So because the lower part of the mine are usually the waterway, there's every temptation that they want to go places that are easier for the dump truck to actually go. Now, and most of the time, they do not take recognizance of the amount of waste that will come out in 3 or 4 years' time as regards to the space required. They might do the planning, but the amount of volume, definitely some of these things swells about 1.5%, some even 2% or thereabout, swelling factors. We found out that when they swell, the allocated locations might not be enough for the waste. Now, because the flooding, definitely the waterways, they will encroach in the waterways as the time goes on, because naturally the water looks for lower topography. Now, like what you just said, because of now, look at what you just said, the pyrite. If the pyrite is exposed to the surface, interactions with water and oxygen definitely are forming sulfuric acid in the, do you understand? So these things happens over time with certain reactions. And these waters take that the work we are doing right now somewhere in the southeast. I found out that those guys, where they are dumping, when we look at the entire thing, in the few years to come, where they are dumped are going to be, it's on a natural creek. And when we trace this creek 10 kilometers away, other communities are using that as the sources of their water, surface water. Do you understand this? So sometimes it's not, they'll just do the planning just within some radius, kilometer 3 or 4 within where they are walking. But when you follow the water creeks and the causes down 10 kilometers, it found out that some communities down the line believe that is the best water they will have. So when we trace all the whole plan, we told them that, see, in the few years to come, what you allocated for your wakes will not be enough. And your dump definitely will be encroached along the line of the waterways. And these reactions will start happening. And that's what we call leaching. So because these materials have been exposed, what happens is that they leached out into the natural water. Are you seeing it now? That is one aspect. Very, very strong issues I've seen when we're talking about managing the water. When we did the project in the coal mine of Zuma, we took over 3 months to do water hydrologic assessment. There is no kind of section that we didn't do. We did piezometric observations over some weeks to even understand the rise and fall of underground water. When you don't understand this, you find out that you go into mining, you wouldn't even understand the amount of pump you might require in the peak of rainy season. The same thing happened, for example, if you are planning to build something along the river channels or river Niger and all that, you should be able to obtain several years of record telling you of at least the possibility of flooding extent. You get it? Now, most of the locations, let me give you another practical examples. Most of the locations, like if you go to the Benue Trough, Lower Benue Trough, if you take Abakaliki as an example, most of the lead are mined close where there are structures, and these structures causes depression. Because this causes depression, they dump along the depression lines. Are you seeing it now? No. Maybe not even understand what's going on, but I'm telling you how these things cause problems. Now, if you've taken records, Mitchell did some work in also I did some work with Mitchell also in Benue. We took some samples, a lot of samples we found out that almost every water there is high in lead over the WHO. And these things, they take it over the years, they don't really understand. And most of the people that are mine are people that do not have capacity, that do not even understand these things. They give community whatever they can give them. The community do not even care. Mostly, but what the community is, most of them, their mentality is about the money you will give to them now. Some of the practices, they don't even understand that. The capacities, they don't even understand. Reclamation, remediations, rehabilitations, they don't really understand that. So I think that is a place I want us to look at again. Then another thing I see, we have a big problem. In short, if you've gone to some of the West African countries, I've been to do some gold. What I saw, I can't explain it. In short, I can't explain it. What I saw in Asia and what I saw in West Africa is as if we are not the same. It's not comparable. We cannot even compare. It's too much. Do you understand? For example, I'll give you this. When I visited some mines, some crushers and all that, I found out that the entire system of processing is done in an enclosed place. No place that I visited that I saw any quarry or anything dust escaping. In short, you go inside, you see a lot of noise, but you come outside, you see that they are not processing. But come down here, FCT as an example, the highest quarry we have here is open. Is in the open, the entire open. There are quarries that produces over 1,000 TPH here, but they are in the open, and people are living all around. I'm talking about FCT. I'm not even talking about places that are far from FCT. Do you understand? So you found out that the grade of environmental contamination is so high that we need to bring in more practical approach and awareness to some of these things. Then in terms of alluvial mining, when it comes to alluvial mining, is another location some of these things takes place. When it comes to tin, the monazite, all those alluvial mining and all that, is another location. Because they just work directly on these natural waters. And there is no place to capture those waters, and you talk about the other secondary processing of those waters for it to be, safe for some human consumption and all that. So I think this awareness is what I want to bring in required to some of the mining practices that we actually see everywhere. So I think at this time we need to give room to some people on the platform. I've seen some people that are well experienced here to possibly, if they have a contribution or question, they can actually bring it up. Just raise your hand, I will call you up and unmute you so that you can do that. Time is almost up. It's 1 o'clock now. So do we have contributions or questions from the platform? We can do that. Okay, Theophilus raised hand. Who again? Please, can you raise your hand if you want to say something? Okay, let's go. Theophilus, you can make your comment.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much
Yes.
for the wonderful presentation, Dr. Fadele. My question is, what are the technology equipment used to treat water?
Okay, Father, did you hear him? He said, what are the...
Yes, yes. Some of the technology used, just like Dr. Gideon just explained now. You have different sites, site-based, someone who is mining for coal. They have his own way and style of trying to, clean up, remove all these contaminants before he release the water to the environment. It will be different from somebody from the alluvial site and so on and so forth. We have different technologies. You may decide to go for chlorination, technology, imputing maybe chlorine and also to clean some of these contaminants as the case. Ozonation too is another method. We have some reverse osmosis. So there are some chemical or chemistry that is needed or required, in order for you to treat some of this water as the case may be. So maybe when you go through, maybe some that are, because you know, I'm not having a mine site, but maybe some of them that are having active mine sites who are doing the right thing. You understand? We have standards, we have the right way, but we have the Nigerian style or Nigerian ways of handling things. But I believe some of us who are really doing the right thing, practicing it, may also share their ideas on how they are handling some of this water before they release it to the environment or reuse it as the case may be. Thank you, Theophilus.
Okay, to add to that, Theophilus, everything, treating water depends on your activities and what you do. In most cases, when it comes to treatment of water and all that, the most important thing is, like, if you are processing, for example, let me just take example of what is actually happening in the mining industry. If you have a system, a complete system of processing, at the end of the day, the easiest way to handle your water is to add a kind of a filter press and a recycling system at the end of your processing. In the sense that, one, if you're in a place where there is a scarcity of water, it means that you need to recycle your water so that you don't run out of water. Now, in the process of recycling this water, there is a pond where your water can actually go in. You treat the water from there, then it takes it back to your system again, and you continue making use of the water. You understand? So you don't just, at the end of the day, release water directly into the natural creek and that gets other ones contaminated. So those waters have a place where they have to go in different kind of ponds, so where they can be treated and be reused again. So instead of you continuously releasing water into the natural water and keep taking water again, you can deplete the water. If you don't manage your water, you can deplete the water that people are using. You can contaminate it. So it depends on your activities and that's why it's important that you do your environmental impact assessment to understand the impact of your activity on the environment, and you look at remediation plans against that. So I think, okay, we will take that from Tayo. Tayo, please, can you unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, Dr. Gideon and Dr. Fadele and the other people around. Mine is like question stroke contribution. Part of it is what you just addressed now. Now, I always like us to address these major mining challenges in the light of our reality around. Dr. Gideon, you were talking about Asia, about Africa. I think it might not be too fair to put both of them on the same pedestal because of our peculiarities and our limitations. So, but thankfully, this last issue that you addressed, you talk about the location, walking along our natural gradient, the location of our drainage pit. Let me give you an example. A few years back, in one of our own mining projects in Guma local government, what we did was that when we looked at the vein and the direction of the vein, we now borrowed pits almost by the side, some distance, so that was where we were draining the water, and then we allowed the water to sediment, and then we take back the water to our washing bay. Why I'm saying this, we have to look at the reality that most of our practices, they are small scale mining at best, mostly at artisanal. So I think the onus is on us as advocates in this sector to press for more of the affordable natural processes. All those ones are good to filter, to desalinate, to add chemicals, all of that. But I want us to consider that those things that can be easily done in our local reality, that can be easily duplicated, so that we can still make the practice sustainable without putting too much pressure on resources that are not available. So that is my own. I don't know whether you understand.
Tayo, I think you've made a very wonderful contribution there. Our peculiarity, that I always tell you that you need to, in everything we do, we need to understand the peculiarity of our people for sustainability, not just quoting it. Now, like what you just said, that's why I made mention of sedimentation ponds. It's a very natural way of doing that. When you look at the natural gradient, you look at where you can make your sedimentation pond, allow it to. You can make about 3 ponds. You understand? Yes. You can do the first one, it can sediment in the first one, from there it flows the other one. Yeah. Naturally, you can flow to the third one. The third one might be where you'll be taking it off. So those ponds might be of different sizes. You understand? So because they're of different sizes, they would when the other one gets filled up, it will naturally flow into the next one. The other one gets filled, so you can make different ponds, and you take from the last pond. So this is when your pond gets filled up, you can easily remove the residue and dry it, and you can even reuse it, like what we are doing in Ghana. Yeah. Those ones that we are using as residue becomes another sand for construction. Pure sand for construction purposes and all that. So you can actually do that. So it's the same way. But if you are doing a very big operation, if you are doing any work that is up to 1,000 TPH, you won't be talking about those kind of operation. You're talking about something that is highly mechanized. But at a small scale mining, we need to do this. And also inside our pits, we'll find out that most miners do not have what it takes to have elaborate pits. Because okay, how many of you went with us to the underground mine? We went somewhere in Abuja. You saw how the ponds we actually made right inside the underground mine, down 50 meters. Now, those things are also water management process. Because the issue is that if you don't really also manage water within the pond or within your pit, your slope will come down. You understand? So that's why you need to pump out steady. That's why you need to make your pit elaborate. You need to make your pit in such a way that you need to take out water steady out of the pit. That's why you see most people, they cannot walk once it's raining. So there's peculiarity based on the formation, based on the strength and the competency of the walls, then based on the level of operation. So these are very, very critical issues, unless you are not being involved in short, if water deals with you in mining, you understand what I'm saying. In short, do you know even water? Presence of water alone can make the coal to catch fire. How many of you, where the author is there, will allow Ato to talk? Ato has experience in that. If you don't control your coal very well, because of the volatility of coal, it will catch fire. It happened to us. And you cannot stop them with water. Ato, please, can you make statement here?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
I wanted to chip in. Yeah, most of the things you, Dr. Gideon, you said actually is something that we are familiar with. When Mr. Tayo wanted to speak, exactly my point I wanted to state, because I've been opportune to face this issue in both metallic deposits, that's mines, like for instance gold and all that. Then I'm also facing it now in the coal mines, and you see, most of the times I may not agree that it is a lack of planning. I may not agree, because somebody who wants to go into mining, even if it is a small scale miner, always understands the impact of water. You understand? So to some level, there is always that caution on what to do when it happens. But you find out that, especially from my own experience, most times, like what Fadley said now, most of the mitigation is quoting. You see that they are not easy money to take care of those kind of things. So yeah, you talked about, yes, doing it doing it in your own capacity. Okay. But even at that, you see, let's start from the beginning. When you're doing your mind planning, you tend to involve a lot of people, especially professionals, hydrogeologists and all that. Okay. And they give you their result, they give you their data. And you work with this data, but when it comes to reality, you find out that what they gave you does not add up. Somebody is telling you that you have the water level is below 40 meters, okay, and you are targeting to get at 30 to see your material. At least you have boycotted the water, only for you to start, and you are faced with a volume of water you cannot even comprehend. Every small thing water comes in, and it goes against what the professional have said. So you see that your planning has been turned upside down. At that moment, you start thinking on your feet on what to do to solve this problem. Meanwhile, you had a plan already, but the plan was based on the false data. That is one thing also. Now, when we talk about, okay, you have planned for it, now you see that the cost of getting this state-of-the-art facilities to recycle water may not be there. I've practiced this thing you talk about having these multiple sumps, okay, for water storage. But you see that as of, yes, it's still good, but those water still at some point, it still affect the environment because your sumps, sometimes may release water into the environment somehow, even if it's minute, based on the mineral you're working with. Somehow it may have leakages, may have seepages, okay, which is beyond your own control now. So this issues of water is a serious problem that is affecting if you talk about coal mining now, our problem with water now is not even the underground water, is the reaction of the iron most times with the water, because you start having this iron water, and this water has to go to the environment because I cannot keep it. It has to go to the environment. And when I start creating soft again to be treating water there, from there start going on. You see that it's a whole lot of, how much is the cost? How much do you sell these things? So there's a whole lot to these water things that we need to go deeper to find out, from the planning stage to the monetary financial aspect of it and everything. I got a pump just not quite long, 15 million naira just for water alone, and yet it's not even serving the purpose. You are not meeting up the target. It's a whole lot of issue. This water is a whole lot of things we need to critically look into and see how we can actually solve. I'm actually happy with this presentation. That's why I actually wanted to see how far we can go. I'm facing it seriously, and it's a big problem. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to thank you. You see, that's, if you are in coal and the kind of place you are working with, let me tell you, the problem I've seen in this industry, especially when it comes to water, is that people take it so lightly. Just what I'm telling you. The truth of the matter, the nature of work we did in Zuma taught me to know that water is one of the most interesting aspects of planning that you must do. You remember how many months we monitored water levels? How many months? And we are taking the cross sections of the water on the entire places. Do you know how many holes we put in places to monitor water levels? How many miners will do that? With direction. Niger, do you know how many this I planted along the river? Do you know how many that I got hundreds years of data from NIWA in order to plan the floodplains of Itobe area? Let's play. It's not something he does. The issue that most people think that mining is all about buying an excavator and only this thing and start opening the ground. And start mining. That is why it takes us unaware. But if you understand the volume of what you are going to deal with, you should definitely be aware, because the issue here is clarity and understand. Like, that's why you are buying pump 15 million. That's why you are thinking it's too much, because you never know that the pump alone will take you 100 million. Do you understand? Because you didn't plan for it. They didn't give you the right data. If you are giving the right data, do you know if you monitor that water issue in Zuma, we did wet and dry season study. How many people are doing it? They mine under 1 week here. Anybody that looks for, you are telling miners they are interested in the amount of coal they will remove the next week. Are you seeing it? That's why even EIA
That's
is
true.
talking about the dry and the wet season. So if definitely we want to grow in some of these things, see, if you want to produce in a big quantity, you need to get the guys involved. There are no two ways about it. You know, it was in there that I learned there is no kind of hydrological assessment and study that we didn't do. I was even pissed off at some because I said, why are we struggling for water for almost how many months? Studying about water underground. It was when we started that I saw everything. Even the pumping test was done on the intervals. Do you understand? So it's why the same thing in Ethiopia. 100 years of data was gotten for us to be able to design the topography where the power plant will be. Because you don't want to put in a plant and after some years they will tell you they release water from Cameroon and from Chad or from there and it overflooded the billion naira worth of projects because you couldn't plan it. You know, so I believe that we take it so lightly. Like when you tell people what is there, water. If you are involved, the issue is that if they take you as a geologist to manage water in this, that is where they are going to sack you. You know, you know, this is the issue. It's where you're going to see the problem. It's even easier for you to mine and to manage water in the mine. So it's a specialized way because you're going to you will take a lot of data around the location. You're going to study the topography, the natural relief, and so many other things. You're going to do the underground pumping thing. And depending on where you want to do. And now, Ato, have you forgotten that in some of the coal, you have some that are even a confined aquifer. I showed you the
Yes,
work
yes,
I
yes,
did
yes.
somewhere
Yes,
in
yes.
Soka. You saw the
Yes.
artesian well that was running.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
even on my TikTok. Some people were like shouting another. How did you manage another? You see, already understanding that we have artesian wells there has already changed our mentality. What are coming out
Yes,
without
yes.
even pumping? So you want to
Without
go to
pumping
that
it,
place
yeah.
without planning and you want to go and mine without understanding that the water is under pressure. So when you now go and remove the coal that is holding the pressure of water, what do you think will happen?
Everything
It can
goes
even
off now.
the entire community. Everything. Study, they will. So it's a very big issue to look at and understand it. So not just open the ground, pit. Most people do pit design. They don't do water design. They don't do any way water. They don't even look at how they will discharge the water or how they will even get their water and all that. So I think it's something that we need to, and also there's the modern technology, like you said. I think there are some also even some modern specialized even softwares in water management, like hydrosphere, mud flows,
Yeah.
GoSim, and all that they normally use. Even GIS has some incorporation of water, info water also, water gems. These are different kind of applications these days that people actually get involved in. You know, some modern technologies try to bring some of these things in place for us to actually make use of them. But bringing awareness for some of us that are growing up to know that there are a lot are involved. If you are taken as a geologist and you are kept in the mine and water comes there to carry everything and all that, the next day they will sack you.
Oh man, yes, no.
They will sack you. I'm telling me, I will sack you. Yeah, I will tell you. Because
Don't be liable. Not true.
it's true. So you will come, you will come. You will see excavator yesterday. You will see your excavator.
Yeah.
The next day, you will not see your excavator. To tell you how it is. This is the place you come to go and do exploration. We cannot cross again. Because water has it can rain in some other location, and the kind of
Yeah,
flood
brought the
was
water.
so much that we couldn't, you know. So that does it. So I don't think there are. Let's look at other questions here. Do we have? Okay. Do we have questions here, or some from the? Okay, from the. I will have a lot of. Okay, let's read the platform and see. Is there any question on the platform?
Yes, Madam Michelle asked the question.
Okay. What was the question? Okay, Tiflo say, thank you so much, Dr. Finally, my question are the technology equipment used to treat water. Okay, that's the one you've answered. Nice presentation, Dr. Fadele. That's from Esther Chimumba. Please, whose duty is it to regulate water use in mines? most people are not aware, especially in illegal mining, whose duty to regulate. There are regulators, but you are the operator. If you are the operator, definitely it is your duty of the operator to bring out his plans and show the regulators, the government regulators. So water regulation in a particular mine is the duty of the operator. Mostly it's a geologist, the geologists are involved, or the chemists or environmentalists. You understand? Depends on your training and your experience, you know. Then Ministry of Environment are there, definitely as government regulators and agencies to actually, they will not tell you what to do. What do you need to bring your plan and show them? Their own is to ensure that you implemented the plans. You know, they are not going to design it for you. You design, do everything, show them where you have problems, identify the problems you're going to have, identify the way you're going to tackle the problems. Their own is to make sure that you implement all your plans accordingly with environmental standard. You know, another one here is from Ahmed. He said, "Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation." He said, "My question is that as we are now in the modern world, how can emerging technology like IoT, remote sensing help monitor, predict, and manage?" Yeah, of course, that's what we just said. Remote sensing, that's the first thing you use in actually managing all your water. You cannot manage your water without understanding, without a very good models of a topography. You need to model your topography in such a way that you have at least 90% close to the real topography. If you have something like 50 or 60% away from the real topography, you might not be actually depicting where the real things are actually happening, because at the end of the day, if you model a place, you should be able to have a maximum flow directions and lowest flow directions. Because remember that in your layout, you have your processing plant, you have your facility area, you have where you are going to be sleeping, so many other things and all that. So you need to understand where the water will go and where the water will not go naturally. These are natural ones. Before you start making a kind of amendment or trying to change the topography or the relief of the area. So definitely your remote sensing is very, very important to predict that. Then you need to actually queue in the data. If depending on the kind of work you want to do, if you are in a place that is closer to a river or within a floodplain, you need to know the possibility of flooding coming to where you are going to mine. You can predict that using your remote sensing and some other applications. You can actually do that. So you can use that to monitor. You can also install piezometric wells to monitor the level, the high and the lows, how it actually go down and all that. You know, understanding the discharge rate and all that, you'll be able to know the amount of water you may use. And also that's actually what helps you to design the kind of pump you are going to use. After went to buy 15 million naira pump, that is small pump. You might not even go anywhere depending on the kind of this thing he wants to use. And definitely, let me tell you, if you see the issue of pump, your pump, there are some that you can put the same day, they will burn the same day. I've seen issues. When I say issues, I've seen issues to the extent that you cry in the hill, nobody will save you. So you need to be aware what you are going into. It's not a child's play, you know. So you need to do that. Then thanks you for our presentation. This is from Mitchell, Dr. Fadele. My question is, I say, when does a mining company require water use permit in the course of mining? I think this Mitchell, you are the one that's supposed to answer this question to us, because I think you're a professional in this. You are the one that actually, are you contributing to us? Are you asking us the question? Please, you need to answer, because the water use permit, I think, is the first thing before even that's the RP now. Dr. Michael, you're mute. Yeah,
Yes,
I think that's the first thing now. You need
before
to do
you even
that.
start your mining project, you have to program, you have to get the permits, get all those things, or else they will sanction you.
Yes. Yeah, so that, okay, if you answer, the permit is required for any of your mining activities. So that's the first thing you need to. I think that is it. We have all the questions we have here on that. Then let's see, do we have any other hands up or not? Okay, I don't think we have any other question. Do you have any other question or any other contribution? I don't think that I'm seeing any other hand. Yeah. So in that, after another question, I think we've done well for ourselves this on this episode of Okay, please we can put on our camera. Please let's take our pictures, and as we come to conclusion of today's discussion, it's nice having you here. Okay, let's have our pictures before we go. Okay. So do we have the pictures? Okay, we welcome everyone here. I can see some faces. Let me see faces I don't know. New faces here. Gideon Igwe, I don't know that name and the face. You're welcome. Tayo is our man, always there to contribute. Ato, thank God you are here today. You've been running away every time. You have a lot to contribute, and I don't know why. I have my namesake here. Emmanuel Benjamin is here. I don't know that name. You're welcome. Ahmed, these are young ones. Abigail, well done for your work so far. Deborah, you're welcome. Who else is here? Nana, we're not seeing you. What we are seeing is a picture. We're not seeing your name. We are seeing your name and picture. We are not seeing your face. Ibukonoluwa, where are you? I can't see your video. This is, even if you don't have light, you must see your face because this is just broad daylight. Unless some of you have not washed your face. Who else are we seeing here? Kenel Okonkwo, you're welcome. Mohammed Abubakar, Felix, is it the Felix I know? Felix Fawole. Okay, you're welcome to this. Okay, let's check other people. Okay, I think that's fine. It's good having everybody here. Please, I welcome you all. So please, in case you've not joined, you're not within the platform, you can have a link there to join us. And I thank you all for joining, and I say have a very good day ahead of you. And bye for now.